We are going to be creating a picture using equations. So first thing I'm going to do is just give you some ideas to think about. These are creations that some of your classmates already did. And so just sort of, I'll show you just some thoughts. The simplest thing that seems to work for some people are creating houses. So this would be an example. And here's another one, this house with the tree. I like the tree because that got at some of our slanted lines. Really quickly, the project itself, this is the first screen, is going to need 5 vertical lines, 5 horizontal lines, and 6 slanted lines. And then the other piece of it is it has to be a real picture. It can't just be sort of a design, as you'll see in the examples that I show you. So for example, this house has 1, 2, 3, 4 slanted lines, and I think I would say that these are also slanted lines. So we got 5, 6, lots more than that. And then for horizontal lines, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So plenty of horizontal, and vertical 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So again, lots of horizontal lines. So when you're creating your picture, remember your grade is based on having those lines. Okay, and then you can be as creative as you want after you have those lines done. So here's another example of the face of a pumpkin. Actually, if I squeeze in, you can see they have the little pumpkin top. So this one was really cute. And we've got another house. Again, it can be a pretty simple picture. This one, the tree got at a lot of our slanted lines. And here's another tree with some presents underneath. And this one, someone used their name. So again, you can do something like that. You don't have to do a house. It can be creative. So we're going to go through screens 2 through 6, and those will just be like your examples of how to draw different lines. And you can always go back to those to try it out and sort of to get ideas, or if you've forgotten how to draw a line. On screen 7, that's going to be your workspace, where today we're going to write sort of a rough draft of just drawing the lines out. And then 8 will be your final product. The rest of the screens have some really cool things that you can add to it afterwards, like shading and animation, stuff like that. So if you want to play with that, that's awesome, but you don't have to. You can just end at 8. Maybe look at 9, that sort of does a final check, but that's as far as you really have to go. So let's look at screen 2. This is just how to change the type and color of the line so that you can have a little fun with it. You click the gear, and then over here you can click that blue and you can change it to a different color. You can make it a dotted line. Okay. And then if perchance by mistake let's hit done, you just hit this, notice that it does make it go away. So if you're ever not sure which line you're working on, you could take it away and then make it reappear and see which one goes away and comes back. Or if you do that by mistake, you'll know why your line disappeared. So screen 3, this is just sort of what we've been doing. You write all of your equations you're going to write are going to be in that format, y equals mx plus b. And then this piece is going to tell you how to short or long to make it. So what we're going to do here is we want to create a new line so that it only goes between 1 and 2.5. So let's type in y equals 2x minus 1, which makes the same line. And then just sort of experiment with making that red line shorter by doing 1 is less than x, less than 2.5. The one thing I've seen people making mistakes on are using the wrong parentheses here. I've seen people do this, and that obviously will make it not work. So notice here that it made this red line shorter, and notice the length of the line is going from 1, and you can look on the x-axis. Notice here it has the x's in the middle, so we're using the x-axis to make it longer or shorter. So it goes from 1 to 2.5. Let's look at screen 4. Feel free to pause this or, to try it yourself before you move on. So with this one, notice the type of line is a horizontal line, and it crosses the y-axis at 3. So if I wanted a line that crossed the y-axis at 4, I would just write y equals 4. And then if we want to make that shorter or longer, I'm going to use the same format as I did on the last screen. And this one wants us to do it between -2 and 3. So I'll do -2 less than x less than 3. And now it's made that line go from -2 to +3. Again, you can play on this screen if you would like to, or you can move on with us. Okay. So, that's so cool. Except I don't know how to get it off. Okay. This screen will have us draw a regular slanted line, but this time it's using the y over here to make it shorter and longer. So it's looking at these numbers. So notice here that it's going from -1.5 to 5. So over here, this is ending at -1.5, and it's ending at 5 up here. So if I want to type, let's retype. Actually, let's do a line that's a little like right underneath that one. Let's do +4 so we can, we can see that this is a different, and I'm actually going to change the color too, so we can see which line I'm working on. Okay, so see how it's the green line? And then I'm going to make this one go from, it wants us to go from 0 to 4. So I'm going to do 0 less than y less than 4. 4. And so with this one, notice I'm using these numbers here to make it shorter. So it's going from 0 to 4. Okay. Number 6. This is our vertical line. So notice that it's crossing the x-axis at -6. So I'm going to make another one. Let's do y. Oh no, x equals -5. And so again, I'm going to change the color so that it's obvious that I'm doing a different one. Okay, so the green one is what I just wrote. Notice it's crossing the x-axis at -5. And then they want us to make it go between -1.5 and 2.5. So in this case, we want to look at the vertical distance. So I'm going to be comparing it to the y-axis. So over here, I'm going to have it go from -1.5 y and to 2.5. So notice over here, it's now going from -1.5 to 2.5. So the next screen is your workspace. So that's all I want you to accomplish today, is to just quickly sketch out a picture of what you want to have done. And then you have the rest of the week to draw the picture using equations. So we're going to start with this tool. This is your line tool. And by using that, we can make sure that you're getting nice straight lines. And I would then scroll down so that you're looking at your graph with the origin, with that 0 point here. And that's sort of the line you'll use to start your picture. And I'm just going to draw sort of a random house. Notice as I'm drawing that all of my points are going right to that middle of a grid line. That will help make your picture easier to work with later on. And probably to there. Okay. And again, you want to draw a picture that meets those rules that we talked about with the that talk about the rules with your vertical, horizontal, and slanted lines. You could draw, a little tree over here,
I think someone did that. Looks a little more like a stop sign, but that's okay. This is my tree. And we'll draw down here. Okay. So there's my picture. Again, as long as it fits the number of line requirements, you're good. Now, that's all you have to get done today. Now, for the rest of the week, what you have to do is you have to go over to screen 8 and start writing your equations. And I'm going to walk you through how to do that as well. Again, because this is just a YouTube video, you can stop it here, go work, and then come back and finish watching the rest of this, because you may just have information overload, and that's okay. So let's go back to the workspace. What I would suggest is to go over and choose a different color. We're going to use orange. And I'm actually going to make sure I'm on my line, extend my line that I'm going to work on. So I'm going to work on this first line of a roof. And I'm going to extend it all the way so it's crossing the y-axis, because you know you're going to need that when you go to write the equation. And remember here that as we write the equation, we're using that formula of y equals mx plus b. Again, I'm using my track mouse to write, so the handwriting is not my normal. So first I have to find that m, that slope. So remember that I can do that rise over run. Let's just use a different color so you can see that. Remember, we choose our 2 points. This is why it's nice that your line goes from like a grid mark or middle of a grid line to another middle of a grid line. So I'm going to go up. We went up 2 and over 3. So that's going to be 2. My slope will be 2/3. And then my b is my y-intercept. So remember, that's where it crosses the y-axis. So I'm looking for where does it cross. So it would cross right here, and that would be at 1. So we would just write +1. So remember the other pieces of my formula. So you can't just write those. You have to write in that y equals, and then the x, and then the +1. So I'm going to go over here, and we're going to type in y equals 2/3 x plus 1. And you can see I've got my nice slanted line, but it's too long. So now I'm going to go back, and I want to see how long, where do I want this line to show up? So remember, we're going to look at the x-axis for that. So I'm going to look down, and it goes from 4 to 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to come over here, here, and it's going to go from 4 to 7. And then I have my line. So you're going to do that for each of your lines, and you should be good.